Brahman and Vaishnava. The conclusive comparison between Brahmins and Vaishnavas. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Translated by Bhumipati Das. Continuation. Part 3. The Srimad Bhagavatam 3.23.56 says, translation, anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, must be considered dead, although he is breathing. End translation. People engage in fruitive activities according to their own desires. These activities are divided into 4 categories. Akarma, or actions without fruitive reactions. Vikarma, or unauthorized or sinful work. Kukarma, or acts against the principles of religion. And satkarma, or pious activities. From the mundane point of view, those activities that are in the mode of goodness, or that are moral and beneficial for others, are called satkarma. If one's activities are meant only for fulfilling one's own desires and do not benefit others, they cannot be called satkarma. Those who give up sinful activities, which harm the performer and others, and engage in activities that are not meant for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu, are actually dead, although breathing. Everyone who is on the platform of fruitive activities should execute his own duties for the purpose of Dharma. But if one does not engage in all his religious duties for the purpose of developing renunciation, they simply generate ignorance. When a person becomes overly proud of being situated in the mode of goodness, then he gives up pious activities and again becomes attached to activities in the modes of passion and ignorance. The perfection of knowledge is to destroy ignorance by passion, to destroy passion by goodness, and to become detached from goodness by pure goodness. This state is called nirguna, or transcendental to the material modes of nature. Without attaining the state of nirguna, a life of renunciation nourished by ignorance is as good as death. Therefore, a person who has acquired knowledge takes shelter of the service of the Supreme Lord, at whose feet are found all the holy places. In other words, he takes shelter of the activities of bhakti. This is the symptom of real life in a living entity. When one surpasses whimsical, unregulated activities, he comes to the level of regulated, pious activities. When he further advances from pious activities, he comes to the level of knowledge, or renunciation, wherein he gives up activities. When a person loses interest in the paths of karma and jnana, he comes to the path of bhakti, which is the highest development of human consciousness. In the pure devotional path, there is no scope for fruitive activities, which are meant for sense gratification, or impersonal knowledge, which is meant for renunciation. Although the 3 paths and the practices are different, they appear the same in the eyes of foolish people. The people of India, who are engaged in karmakanda, consider every human being under the jurisdiction of karmakanda, like themselves. Until one personally understands the powerful reactions of karma, he cannot avoid glorifying karma and desiring to achieve its fruits. When knowledge is awakened, fruitive activities subside and one's self-realization becomes completely purified. Then one can finally identify with the propensity for devotional service. One who misunderstands the path of bhakti as another version of the path of karma considers himself a practitioner of jnana and simply creates anxiety for himself. Yet the activities performed by such jnanis fall more or less under the category of karma. Although the self-realization of those who follow the path of bhakti is not actually under the jurisdiction of karma, it appears as such to the eyes of the karmis and jnanis. Respectable persons who are attached to fruitive activities mistakenly consider that the devotees who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord are on the same platform as themselves and forced to enjoy the fruits of karma. Thanks to their poor fund of knowledge, the jnanis have convinced themselves that the devotees are chained by the laws of karma. Indeed, other than those engaged on the path of bhakti, all people, the karmis, the jnanis, and the whimsical, consider that devotees are forced to enjoy the fruits of karma. But in the pure devotional path, this conclusion is actually very weak. Intelligent followers of the above-mentioned three paths will undoubtedly profit in this regard by referring to the innumerable books, life histories of sages, and historical incidents connected with these paths. Those who have accepted the rulings of the scriptures on karma with unshakable faith and fixed minds are naturally indifferent to the scriptural conclusions of jnana and bhakti, spoken by the Upanishads. That is why we have written this present essay, to appeal to those who are attached to karma. This present essay will consist of topics related with the realm of karma and its logical analysis. Therefore, this chapter is being named Prakriti Jana Kanda, and the next chapter must be named Harijana Kanda. In that chapter, we will discuss topics concerning the communities of jnanis and harijanas, who are both beyond the jurisdiction of karma. Since worldly people do not completely reject the statements of literatures that respect the jnana and bhakti scriptures, there will be no fault in quoting herein evidence and arguments from those scriptures. It is an established fact that the descendants of those who were even once known in society as Brahmins are all considered Brahmins. The descendants of those who have once somehow been designated Brahmins in Satya, Treta, or Dwapara Yugas have kept their claims to the Brahminical designation and authority intact with the help of the 20 Dharma Shastras and social customs. In this regard, we can only say that in earlier times, 10 samskaras, or purificatory processes, were followed by the Brahmins. Among these, one is the Garbhodan ceremony, which was based on seminal line. It has, however, been changed and perverted in the course of time. According to the opinion of Devala, if the womb is once purified before intercourse, then it is not necessary to purify the womb before every pregnancy. He states this as follows. Translation. A once consecrated woman is consecrated for all her pregnancies. End translation. The respected Smarta Raghunandana Bhattacharya of Bengal was also of the opinion that the samskar need only be performed once. But if this samskar was taken more seriously, then seminal consideration would have been more applicable. In the Mahabharata, Vanaparva 180, 31 through 32, it is stated. Translation. Maharaj Yudhisthira said to Nahusa, O broad-minded great serpent, because there are persons born from mixed marriages among each of the varnas, it is extremely difficult to determine an individual's caste. That is my opinion. The reason for this is that men of all castes are able to beget children in the women of any caste. Speech, sex, birth, and death are similar for men of all castes. End translation. It is especially difficult to ascertain whether a given person is born from a Brahmin, ksatriya, or other caste father. Other than trusting a person's words, there is no way to investigate his caste. The caste of those belonging to Brahman and other caste dynasties coming from Lord Brahma, and said to be purely descending to the present day, cannot be known in truth without definitely validating every person in the line. In his commentary on the above verse, Sri Nilakanta, the commentator on the Mahabharata, quotes from the Vedas as follows. Translation. We do not know whether we are Brahmins or non-Brahmins. End translation. Such doubts arose in the hearts of the truthful sages. The qualification of those who take birth in Brahmin families, but are unable to maintain Brahminical qualities, and the qualification of their descendants needs to be considered. By immoral activities, the qualification and potency based on seminal descent is reduced, and by sinful activities persons become sinners and fall from their positions. The compilers of Dharma Shastras, Vishnu 93, 7-13, and Manu 4, 192, 195-200, have stated as follows. Translation. Religious-minded persons should not give even a drop of water to the hypocritical son of a Brahmin, the follower of the vow of a cat. One should not give even a drop of water to the son of a Brahmin who is either a sinful impostor or ignorant of the Vedas. One should know that a dharmadvaji, who makes a false show of being religious, a person who always desires others' wealth, a duplicitous person, a cheater, an envious person, and a blasphemer, is a hypocritical Brahmin who follows the vow of a cat. An impostor Brahmin, the follower of the vow of the duck, is he who always looks down in order to make a show of humility, who is cruel, and who pretends to be submissive. As a result of their sinful activities, those who are hypocrites and impostors go to the hell known as Andha Tamisra. Such people make a show of being religious in order to impress women and Sudras by pretending that their acts of atonement, which are meant for counteracting their sins, are simply pious vows. Such people are condemned in this world and the next by those who are conversant with the absolute truth. Vows that are executed with duplicity are simply demoniac. If someone accepts the symptoms and occupation of a status for which he is not qualified, he is guilty of breaking the principles of varnashram, and as a result of those sins, he will take birth as an animal. End translation.